Have you ever wondered if insulin is the reason why you haven't been able to lose weight? Do you think that maybe insulin is keeping you overweight and it's the devil or it's the thing that you got to control when you want to modify your body composition and your body weight? Well, we get that question all the freaking time in social media. We see comments all the time about insulin, carbohydrates. So today, our head coach, Josh, and I want to talk about what causes weight gain, what's the role of insulin in your body composition, and most importantly, what can you do about it if you're someone who wants to control and modify and alter your body weight. So, Josh, let's start with talking about what actually causes body weight gain or weight loss. What's the thing that actually makes this happen?
Yeah, sure. Most of this is just broken down into calories. I mean, calories are the abundant source of energy that humans consume in order to expend weight loss or weight gain or build hypertrophy or build muscle tissue or fat or whatever. And so, if you're in a calorie surplus, meaning your body is expending a certain amount of calories every day, and you are consuming more than your body is spending, then you're going to put on tissue because your body has nowhere to expend those calories. There's no activity that's taking place. There's no body functions that are taking place. And so you're going to put on fat tissue stored maybe through things like insulin, storing your carbohydrates. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to calorie balance. And that's how we know if we are going to lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight.
So, the main thing that you need to modify if you want to alter your body weight is the amount of calories that you're consuming.
Yes.
So,
Top of
what is the
mind.
actual role of insulin in the body? What does it do, man?
Yeah, so insulin is just it's signaled. There are certain hormones that are sent to your pancreas when your blood sugar is really high, and insulin then uh after you consume a meal, after the carbohydrates and things go through your GI tract, insulin comes and it's used as a carrier to transport the glucose molecules or whatever carbohydrate you consumed to whatever tissue needs it. And so a lot of times relatively sedentary individuals aren't using their muscle a whole lot, and they don't really need to do a lot with their bone structure or density. And so the insulin takes the carbs that are consumed and just puts them in their body fat because they're not doing a whole lot. But the beauty of that is if you are taking care of your body, if you're training appropriately, and if you're doing the right things, meaning you're monitoring your calorie balance and you're making sure that you're in the gym, resistance training, you're getting enough protein, then the insulin or the carbohydrates that you consume will be partitioned appropriately to help you build muscle instead of build fat. So the insulin, instead of storing the carbohydrates in your fat tissue, it will take the carbs and store them in your muscle cells or use them as energy through this process called glycolysis. Because our muscles, in order to contract, our muscles need to use a molecule called glycogen. And that glycogen is simply made up of glucose molecules. And the way that those glucose molecules find themselves from our bloodstream to our muscles is through insulin. That's the way that they get there. And so insulin gets a really bad rep, and then people think, oh, insulin makes you fat because that's what stores carbs into your fat cells. No, no, no. What stores carbs into your fat cells is you being lazy. That's the reason that people put on weight, and it's not insulin's fault. It's the fact that you're not burning any energy and you're not trying to build muscle in the first place. So I don't appreciate the disrespect that insulin gets when really we should be commending that hormone because that's what helps us put on muscle tissue. That's what helps us contract our muscles, etc.
So I think a really good analogy would be that insulin is like a bus, right? It carries
Yes.
your nutrients. If your muscles need nutrients, it's going to take those nutrients to your muscles. It's going to deliver them to your muscles, and then your muscles are going to grow or recover. On the other hand, if you're not doing resistance training, you're not breaking down the muscle tissue, insulin will do the same thing, but instead of transporting those nutrients to your muscles, it'll transport them to your fat cells and it will create more fat cells,
Right. Let's
right?
say exactly, and that's a good analogy. Let's say you hop onto, I live in Missouri. Okay. Let's say you hop onto a bus in Missouri and you ask the driver to take you to Florida. Okay. And he takes you all the way to Florida. So you controlled where the driver went. And as soon as you get to Florida, you're like, hello, I wanted to go to California. And the driver's like, what? All of your signals told me that you want to go to Florida. That's what we're doing to insulin when we say, how dare you store the carbohydrates in fat when you're basically advocating for that just by your lifestyle. Nobody that, or I can't say nobody because there are rare circumstances, but most people that are super active, monitoring their calories, monitoring their macronutrients, they don't struggle with insulin sensitivity or the misconception that takes place there.
So, I mean, I've seen a lot of people comment on social media saying that it's not calories that matter, it's insulin and controlling your insulin levels and the amount of carbohydrates that you eat. So the question that I have is, if let's say you're in a calorie deficit, right? You're in a calorie deficit. Will the amount of insulin that you secrete have a different impact if you secrete less insulin? Like, are the chances of you gaining more fat higher if you're spiking your insulin levels more than if you're not?
No, because you can't gain fat in a deficit. It is impossible. I'm going to say that word with confidence because if you are burning more energy than you're consuming, that means that your blood glucose levels are going to be lower in the first place. You can't have a surplus of blood glucose levels when all of the nutrients you are consuming is going towards filling the activities that you're trying to accomplish. And so just the conception of that, I don't even understand the realm of possibility really as to what people are advocating for. What I think happens is there is a very large misunderstanding of how to interpret data, and much of the data is misconstrued, or somebody just briefly read a study that was really popular on Instagram or Facebook and then it just exploded because they didn't understand what was taking place in the study. So no, insulin is not going to make you gain weight if you're in a calorie deficit. It's impossible.
So if you are gaining weight and you think you're in a calorie deficit, guess what? You're not in a calorie deficit.
Exactly. And there was a study that was recently done, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that people misreport their calories anywhere between 60 and 80% off. So like I might think I'm consuming 1500 calories when in reality I'm consuming 2600 calories because people are always going to be biased towards themselves. They're always going to think, well, there's not that many calories in this serving of peanut butter, or I had a couple brownies that might be a couple hundred calories when maybe the couple brownies were 600 calories. To me, when people say that insulin makes you fat, it's like comparing if you have um, a bucket with holes in the bottom and you're pouring water in and the water is falling out as fast as you can pour it. It's like saying that if you were to uh, pour some oil in there as well, that would be what contributes to the water level rising when all of it is going to be expending out. Like because you have holes in the bottom of the bucket, all the oil, all the water, nothing is going to build up. And so the only way that those would build up, the oil and the water, synonymous with fat tissue and insulin, is if you covered the holes up at the bottom, which is you making sure that you're above maintenance calories. I don't know if that made sense, but in my head, that was the best analogy that anybody could have ever used.
I mean, a little bit. I think I understood it.
No.
Okay. And coming back to the point about misrepresenting or miscounting calories, I think it happens to everyone. And let me tell you a quick story. Me and my girl, we've been counting calories for a very long time, more than 5 years. And about 4 months ago, she realized that she was drinking this drink that she bought in the store, in the 7-Eleven. She thought it had 0 calories. And then one day I got curious and I asked for her to see the drink. And we realized that drink had 50 grams or more of carbohydrates, which was 200 extra calories she was consuming, and she wasn't aware of that. So it can happen to anyone. Sure. It happens to us. We've been counting calories for a very long time, and we still make mistakes when sticking to the certain calories that we're assigned. So if you're someone who thinks insulin is the reason you're gaining weight, and like Josh said, there might be cases where this is true, but for most people it isn't, then you're probably just not in a calorie deficit.
Yeah, and the reason I know this is because anecdotally, this has happened to me so many times. Somebody says, I can't lose weight. I've been dieting for X amount of months. And I say, okay, well, how many calories are you consuming every day? Almost always, they don't know the answer. They have no idea. They're like, oh, well, I haven't been tracking calories. 99% of the time. So if there's an advocate that you know, or you're one of those people that thinks, I can't lose weight because I've been dieting, and I would ask you in person how many calories you've been consuming, you're likely going to say, I'm not sure. And so that's a problem to me. That's the first thing that needs to be addressed if you want to lose weight.
Yes. Or we have also seen the comments people say, I've been in a calorie deficit for 6 months and I haven't lost any weight. Well, you have not been in a calorie deficit for 6 months.
Or, if they think they've been in a calorie deficit, people that are in a calorie deficit, unless they're being trained by a coach, should know what their maintenance calories are. So like if somebody says, I've been in a deficit for X amount of months, and you ask them, kind of throw them off conceptually and say, oh, what are your maintenance calories? And they're like, I don't know. It's like, well, then how do you know you're in a deficit if you don't know what your maintenance calories are? And so that is a very consistent ideology that I see from different people. They'll claim to be in a deficit, but really don't even understand what maintenance calories are or how the body metabolizes food or whatever.
100%, man. So if you're confused about the amount of calories you need to be eating, we created a free tool. It's on our website. You can check out the description. The link's right there. All you got to do is input your information, input your numbers, and then it'll tell you how many calories you need to be eating for either losing weight, maintaining, or gaining muscle. So check it out. And when you're starting a new diet, make sure that you actually count everything. You count it and you give yourself some time. Do not get freaked out if after a couple of days you don't see a lot of things happening, because it does take time. So stick to the calories for 2 to 3 weeks, and then if nothing happens, you can make a decision. You can ask for more help, but you got to be patient. Is there anything else you want to add?
I hope that people understand how to count calories. As Julian said, the resource is going to be invaluable for you to understand what your diet should look like.
Awesome. All right, so that's it for this video. Hope you learned something about insulin, about counting calories. If you want some help, if you want us to teach you how to do this, if you want us to tell you how many calories you need to be eating for your goals, if you want us to tell you how you need to be training, and if you want us to hold you accountable every single day to actually sticking to the process, there's another link in the description that's going to take you to a quick application. You'll fill it out. It's going to take 3 minutes. You'll let us know what you want to accomplish, the things you're struggling with, and then you'll book a free consultation call with one of us or one of our team members. And then we'll let you know next steps if we think that we can really help you out. And if we can't, we'll give you some free resources and we'll stay friends. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you, Josh, and I'll see you guys next time.